Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justice of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight, we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny. Thank you. 6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated.
शुरू हो चुका है और जैसा कि अंदेशा लगाया जा रहा था कि एक बड़ा मुद्दा रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच चल रही जंग होगा, और इसी खबर से हम अब शुरुआत कर रहे हैं। आपको बता दें कि अपने संबोधन की शुरुआत कर चुके हैं और शुरुआत ही उन्होंने रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच चल रहे युद्ध से किया है। और यूक्रेन के बारे में उन्होंने कहा कि यूक्रेन की स्थिति इस वक्त जो है, हम यूक्रेन के साथ हैं, और रूस जिस तरह से हमला कर रहा है यूक्रेन पर, ये विश्व शांति के लिए एक बड़ा खतरा है। और रूस को ये समझना होगा कि हम यूक्रेन के साथ खड़े हैं और इस तरह से रूस को अपनी मनमानी करने नहीं देंगे।
Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's bright, she's strong, and she's resolved. Yes, we, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people.
हम यूक्रेनियंस के साथ खड़े हैं।
We've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving. The cost, the threats to America, and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations.
United States nations के साथ एक member है.
American resolve matters.
American resolve matter करता है.
Was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected
पूरी तरह से unprovoked attack था यूक्रेन पर.
He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond.
उनको लगा कि वेस्ट और नेटो रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करेगा पुतिन को। उनको लगा कि वो यूरोप को डिवाइड करेंगे। हम तैयार हैं, हम यूनाइटेड हैं और हम यूनाइटेड
रहे। Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying your European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how he would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth.
हमने रशिया के झूठों का मुकाबला किया सच्चाई के साथ।
The free world is holding him accountable.
The free world जो है वो पुतिन को accountable hold करता है।
As well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland.
बहुत सारे देश सबने रशिया का काम देखा है। पुतिन इस वक्त अकेला खड़ा है। एक साथ हम सब
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest bank from the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access.
रशिया का एक्सेस जो कर रहे हैं उसकी $630 बिलियन का वॉर फंड को पूरी तरह से वर्थलेस बना दिया है हमने।
I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States.
आज मैं रशियन ओलिगार्क्स को कहता हूँ जिन्होंने इस रिजीम का इस्तेमाल करके जो आगे बढ़े हैं, फाइनेंशियली आगे बढ़े हैं, बस
The United States Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for your ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating
Russian airspace को हम American airspace को Russian aircraft से बंद करेंगे। आज मैं नाम करता हूँ।
He has no idea what's coming.
उनको कोई आइडिया नहीं है कि क्या करने वाले हैं हम।
The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value.
रशियन स्टॉक मार्केट में 40% उसका वैल्यू खत्म हो चुका है। पूरी इकोनॉमी ध्वस्त है। हमारे allies के साथ हम यूक्रेनियंस के साथ खड़े हैं।
Economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving
economic
more than $1 billion
humanitarian
of direct assistance to Ukraine, and we'll continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering.
हम यूक्रेन को सपोर्ट करते रहेंगे जब तक वो अपनी कंट्री को डिफेंड कर रहे हैं।
But let me be clear, our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments, including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power.
US और उसके allies अपनी territory, every inch और अपनी territory जो NATO allies की territory है उसको defend करेगी पूरे force के साथ, पूरे ताकत के साथ.
And we're clear-eyed. The Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. While he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run.
वो इसकी कीमत देता रहेगा.
A pound of Ukrainian people, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have. They've known 30 years of independence.
30 साल की बस उनकी
independence they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards.
पर वो किसी को अपना देश उनसे छीनने नहीं देंगे। एक रशियन डिक्टेटर ने एक फॉरेन कंट्री को इन्वेस्ट किया है। हम पूरी तरह से ये इंश्योर करेंगे जो सैंक्शंस का जो पेन है, जो दर्द है, रशिया महसूस करे।
With 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels
United
of oil from reserves
States
around the world.
30 countries के साथ काम किया है.
We'll lead that effort. Releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do all necessary
strategic oil reserves हैं हमारे पास.
These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home. But I know news about what's happening can seem alarming.
Gas prices हमारी तरफ से हम कम
रखेंगे. I want you to know we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
हम बिल्कुल ठीक होंगे.
The history of this era is written. Putin's war in Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger.
पुतिन की जंग रशिया को कमजोर करेगी और पूरी दूसरे देशों को मजबूत.
Well, it shouldn't have taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake. Now everyone sees it clearly.
अब सब देख रहे हैं, साफ-साफ देख रहे हैं.
A more unified Europe, a more unified West. We see unity among the people who are gathering in cities and large crowds around the world, even in Russia, to demonstrate their support for the people of Ukraine. In the battle between democracy and autocracies, democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security.
स्वतंत्रता के बीच, डेमोक्रेसी के बीच जो फर्क है वो लोग देख रहे हैं.
So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people.
यूक्रेनियन से हमें इंस्पिरेशन लेना चाहिए.
Forge the deep bond that connects our two nations. We stand with you. We stand
with Ukraine. हम यूक्रेन के साथ खड़े हैं. हमारे बीच एक डीप बॉन्ड है, एक कनेक्ट है हमारे बीच.
He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
पुतिन कभी भी फ्री वर्ल्ड का जो रिजॉल्व है, जो उसका एक शक्ति है, उसे कभी भी तोड़ नहीं पाएगा, उसे कभी भी खत्म नहीं कर पाएगा, ना यूक्रेन का, ना फ्री वर्ल्ड का.
We meet tonight in an America that has lived through two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced.
अमेरिका ने बहुत ही कठिन 2 साल देखे हैं, पैंडेमिक की वजह से, कोविड की वजह से.
Struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing, and so much more. I understand, like many of you do.
हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था ने बहुत
मुश्किलें देखी हैं. To find work. So, like many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up. It was felt throughout the family. It had an impact.
मैंने आप लोगों की तरह अपने बचपन में देखा है जंग की कॉस्ट को.
Because people were hurting, we needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis.
क्योंकि लोगों को इस अर्थव्यवस्था पे जो असर हो रहा था, उससे उन पर असर हो रहा था. हमें कुछ कदम लेने पड़े और उसका असर दिखा है.
Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk?
आपको याद रखा होगा जो हम लोग लंबे लाइन पे खड़े होते थे सिर्फ खाना पिक करने के लिए.
$2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans. The American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind. Folks, and it worked. It worked. It worked. We created jobs, lots of jobs. In fact, our economy created over 6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America. The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years. And the first step in bringing fundamental change to our economy that hasn't worked for working people in this nation for too long. For the past 40 years, we were told the tax break for those at the top and benefits would trickle down and everyone would benefit. But that trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth, lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top and everyone else in nearly a century. Look, Vice President Harris and I ran for office, and I realized we
40% ऑफ टैक्स को जो इम्पैक्ट होता है वो दूसरे जो कमजोर स्ट्राटा में है वो ट्रिकल डाउन करेगा. वैसा हुआ नहीं.
Build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top
हमने
down.
फिर से अर्थव्यवस्था को खड़ी करने की कोशिश की और नीचे से बॉटम अप अप्रोच रखा.
Because we know when the middle class grows, the poor go way up and the wealthy do very well.
हमने जाना कि जब मिडिल क्लास ग्रो करता है तब जो उनसे तबके के लोग हैं वो भी ग्रो करते हैं.
Won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I thank my Republican friends for joining to invest and rebuild America. The single biggest investment in history. It was a bipartisan effort, and I want to thank the members of both parties who worked to make it happen. We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure decade. And look, it's going to transform America, to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I told Xi Jinping it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people.
मैंने शी जिनपिंग को कहा अमेरिकन पीपल के खिलाफ बेट मत करना.
Waterways all across America, and we'll do it to withstand the devastating effects of climate change and promote environmental justice. We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Begin to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school. We're going to provide affordable, high-speed internet for every American, rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced. Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year, we will start fixing over 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges in disrepair. And folks, when we use taxpayers' dollars to rebuild America, we're going to do it by buying America. Buy American products. Support American jobs. The federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Every administration, Democrat or Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it. All of it.
हम buy America British product सब कुछ यहीं पर शुरुआत
to compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors.
पर हमें एक लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड की भी जरूरत है चाइना और दूसरे कंपेटिटर्स के साथ.
And we'll make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. We used to invest almost 2% of our GDP in research and development. We don't now. China is. Let me give you one example why it's so important to pass. If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land. It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams, the ground on which America's future will be built. That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley, is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite. Up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place. 10,000 new jobs. And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year. Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip. the power of the world in everyday lives, from smartphones, technology, the internet, technology is yet to be invented. But that's just the beginning. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who is here tonight, I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go, Pat, stand up. Pat came to see me, and he told me they're ready to increase their investment from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So let's not wait any longer. Send it to my desk. I'll sign it. And we'll really take off in a big way. And folks, Intel is not alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here, when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan. All told, 369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone. Folks, powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers in Pittsburgh, who's here tonight. Where are you, JoJo? There you go. Thanks, buddy. As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, Sherrod Brown says it's time to bury the label Rust Belt. It's time to see the what used to be called Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. And with all the bright spots in our economy, record job growth, higher wages, too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation.
Many जो families हैं, तो काफी सारी families हैं अपने bills पे नहीं कर पा रहे आज.
I get it. That's why my
मैं
top
समझता
priority
हूँ.
is getting prices under control. Look, our economy
मैं पूरी तरह से prioritize कर रहा हूँ कि जो कीमतें हैं उनको काबू में रखें.
Businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic.
मुझे पता है कि businesses को मुश्किलें आई हैं लोगों को hire करने में.
Making those beams that went into buildings because they were out. The factory was closed.
Factories बंद हो गई. लोगों को दोबारा लाने में मुश्किलें आई हैं.
When that happens, it takes longer to make goods and get them to the warehouse.
जब ऐसा होता है वक्त लगता है दोबारा सब कुछ खड़ा करने में.
1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales. There weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars that people wanted to buy.
जो 1/3 इन्फ्लेशन था पिछले साल वो ऑटोमोबाइल सेल से हुआ था क्योंकि सेमीकंडक्टर्स नहीं बनाए जा रहे थे जिस पर खड़ा होता है ऑटोमोबाइल.
One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poor. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages. Folks,
इन्फ्लेशन को अगर काबू में करना है तो मैं आपको बताता हूँ तरीका क्या है. कॉस्ट कम कीजिए. लोगों की तनख्वाहें नहीं. हम सेमी कंडक्टर्स जो हैं इन अमेरिका में बनाएंगे. इससे कीमतें भी कम रहेंगी, कॉस्ट कम रहेगा और यहाँ पर नौकरियां बनेंगी.
Look, economists this increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America.
अर्थशास्त्री कहते हैं कि इसका मतलब होगा हम हमारी प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी बढ़ा रहे हैं। मैं कहता हूं कि हम अमेरिका मजबूत कर रहे हैं, हम अमेरिका तैयार कर रहे हैं।
Said my plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures. Top business leaders, and I believe most Americans support the plan. And here's the plan. First, cut the cost of prescription drugs.
मैं जानता हूं कि टॉप बिजनेस लीडर्स मेरे प्लान को सपोर्ट करते हैं और ये रहा मेरा प्लान। सबसे पहला प्लान, प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ड्रग्स, दवाइयों की कीमतें कम करो।
Just look at insulin. 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes.
अब इंसुलिन की कीमत देख लो इस पर।
I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis.
वर्जीनिया में इस लड़के से मिला था मैं।
He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes.
इसको और इसके पिता दोनों को टाइप 1 डायबिटीज है।
Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make. That's what it costs.
इंसुलिन की एक वायल के लिए $10 लगते हैं बनाने में।
Drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount. I spoke with
ड्रग
Joshua's
कंपनीज, फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनीज 30% ज्यादा मांगती है।
Needs insulin to stay healthy and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it.
कब तक ये पे
What it
करेंगे?
does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be.
मैं जानता हूँ ये आपके साथ क्या करता है मानसिक तौर पर।
You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way.
कल इस लड़के का बर्थडे था।
And 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes. Let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month.
मैं कहता हूँ कि इंसुलिन की कॉस्ट को $35 a month पर हम कैप कर देते हैं।
While we're at it, I know we have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs.
प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ड्रग्स की जो कीमतें हैं उस पर नेगोशिएट करते हैं।
They already set the
कब
price
तैयार
for
है?
VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings permanent. And second,
जो अफोर्डेबल हेल्थ केयर प्लान है हमारा,
let's cut
उसको
energy costs
और
for families.
अफोर्डेबल बनाते हैं।
$500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit for it. Double America's clean energy production
आपकी
in solar,
बिजनेस
wind,
को
and so much
एनर्जी
more.
एफिशिएंट बनाने के लिए हम आपको टैक्स क्रेडिट देंगे।
$80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Folks, the third thing we can do to change the standard of living for hard-working folks is cut the cost of child care.
चाइल्ड केयर का जो कॉस्ट है उसको कम करते हैं। ये मेरा तीसरा प्लान है।
If you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for child care per child.
अगर आप अमेरिका के किसी बड़े शहर में रहते हो तो सालाना आप $14,000 एक बच्चे पर खर्च करते हो, चाइल्ड केयर पर खर्च करते हो।
Middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income to care for the young children. My plan.
मिडिल क्लास है उनको 7% से ज्यादा अपने इनकम के 7% से ज्यादा खर्च करने की जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए चाइल्ड केयर पर।
And help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work, generating economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs to families. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny.
मैं ये कहता हूँ कि कोई भी जो $4,000 सालाना से कम कमाता है अमेरिका में, वो एक पैसा और देगा टैक्स की तरफ।
That we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair.
हम चाहते हैं कि जो प्रेजेंट टैक्स सिस्टम है वो फेयर हो।
Well, let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share. Look, last year, like Chris Coons and Tom Carper and my distinguished Congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit and paid zero in federal taxes. Now look,
पिछले साल 55 Fortune 500 कंपनीज ने 40 बिलियन से ज्यादा कमाया और टैक्सेस कुछ नहीं।
And that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put together, I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries to agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home.
130 कंट्रीज एग्री करती है ग्लोबल मिनिमम टैक्स रेट होना चाहिए।
It'll raise billions of dollars. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan, but we have to go in more detail later. We will grow the economy, lower the cost of families.
ग्रो करेंगे, अर्थव्यवस्था को ग्रो करेंगे।
Let's get this done. We all know we've got to make changes.
हमको पता है हमें चेंजेस की जरूरत है, हम ये करके दिखाएंगे।
And while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation.
मेरा जो नॉमिनेशन है फेडरल रिजर्व के लिए उसे कंफर्म कीजिए, उसका बहुत ही ज्यादा क्रिटिकल रोल है।
The previous administration lowered the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy corporations. It undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my administration, the watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. And tonight I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud.
जस्टिस डिपार्टमेंट में बहुत ही जल्द एक चीफ प्रोसिक्यूटर होगा जो पैंडेमिक फ्रॉड की इन्वेस्टिगेशन करेगा। मैं सबके पीछे पड़ूंगा जिन्होंने भी डिफ्रॉड किया है इस आपदा के दौरान हमारे देश को।
By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist.
साल के आखिर तक हमारा डेफिसिट हाफ हो जाएगा in comparison to वो टाइम जब मैंने ऑफिस में पहली बार कदम रखा था।
And corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers and moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. Folks, and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up. That ends on my watch. Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they expect and will looked at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot, provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Minimum wage को हम raise कर रहे हैं $15 per घंटा.
Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Look, let's pass the PRO Act. When a majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time. Build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this, because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to a more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19. Where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus.
Living with COVID-19 कभी नहीं accept
Because
करेंगे.
this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard. And here are 4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection. We'll never give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children. Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do. We're all ready. We are also ready.
हम जानते हैं ये. मैं जानता हूँ कि काफी सारे पेरेंट्स हैं जो चाहते हैं कि हम वैक्सीन अप्रूव कर दें उनके 5 साल से छोटे बच्चों के लिए. हम उस पर काम कर रहे हैं. मैंने ज़्यादा मेडिसिन और ड्रग ऑर्डर किए हैं किसी से भी ज़्यादा देश और दुनिया भर में.
Launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost.
इनिशिएटिव पे काम कर रहा हूँ, तो अगर आप टेस्ट कराते हैं और पॉजिटिव आते हैं तो वहीं के वहीं एक एंटीवायरल पिल जो है आपको दे दिया जाता है.
Or have some other vulnerability. We have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward.
हम किसी को नहीं पीछे छोड़ेंगे.
We've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests. Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests. Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants. Necessary, we'll be able to develop new vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed.
हमारे पास stockpiles होंगे.
I can't promise you
अगर जरूरत पड़े तो।